Okay, in this section we're going to be talking about how to factor a polynomial. So let's just get started with an example. Let's say I had 5x squared plus 10x. Now let me just break this down. This is 5 times x times x. So we have two x's, and I'm going to factor this guy here, break it into a product of primes. So 2 times 5, and then of course x here. Let me put a parentheses around that. Okay, so let's look at this. We have two x's here, we have an x over here, okay, and we have a 5 and we've got a 5 here. So we're going to look at what's over here that's the same thing that's over here, okay. So I'm going to pull a 5 out because 5 is in both of these, and I'm also going to be able to pull out one x because there's an x here, and I'm going to pull an x out of here. Now I'm going to start a parentheses. So we pulled out a 5 and we pulled out of x, so we're left with an x here, and we're just going to be left with a 2. So you see, because we pulled this 2 and, or I'm sorry, we pulled this 5 and this x completely out. Alright, so this thing now has been factored. 5 times x plus 2 in parentheses. Let's look at another one. Okay, what about 12x to the third minus 18x to the fourth? Okay, so we can break this 12 up into, for example, 6 times 2, and that's 3 x's there, right? Minus, and then I'm going to go ahead and break that 18 up into 6 times 3. And of course we have 4 x's here. I'm going to try to sneak those in there. So when we look at this, we have an x, okay, in this term here, and an x over here in this term, so we're going to factor an x out. We always look at the one that has the smallest exponent, and that's what I'm going to pull out, an x to the third. Now we have a 6 that goes both into 12, it's the largest number that goes into 12, and 6 is also the largest number that's going to go into 18, so we're going to pull out a 6. And I'm going to start a parenthesis, so we're going to be left with a 2. I pulled all 3 of these x's out, minus a 3, and if I subtract 3 from this 4 here, we're just left with an x. Okay, so that's going to be 6x cubed times 2 minus 3x. Alright, let's use some different letters this time. Let's say I had 2b plus 4bc minus 10bd. Okay, what can we pull out that's, let's see, we got a b in each one of these, so we know we can pull that out, and there's a 2, 2 goes into 4, and 2 goes into 10. So we're going to pull out a 2b. So that means we're just going to be left with a 1 here, a 2c minus a 5d. And I do believe that that's all that we can possibly do there on that. Alright, what can we do here? Let's see. The only thing that we can pull out of both of these are going to be an x plus 1, because we have an x plus 1 over here and an x plus 1 over here. So let's just do that. X plus 1. So I pulled that out, we're just left with an x, and I pulled this one out and we're just left with a 5. Okay, so this is a simple example here, but we'll work some more complicated ones coming up. Alright, looking at examples on how to factor polynomials. So let's look at this one here. Okay, so we have an x minus 3 and we have an x minus 3 over here, but we're always going to pull the one out that has the smallest exponent. Okay, what's the largest number that goes into both 10 and goes into 4? And I'm thinking 2. Alright, so we're going to be able to pull a 2 out also. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Pull this 2 out, and we're pulling out an x minus 3. Remember, we choose the one with the smallest exponent. And so if I pulled a 2 out of 10, we are left with 5x minus pulling a 2 out over here. And because we pulled, whoa, okay, I have to go back and erase that. We're going to be left with an x minus 3 here because we pulled out 2 of them, but we're still going to be left with 1. And you can always check this by taking this and distributing it back inside and getting back exactly what we started with. But we can actually simplify this down a little bit, and we're going to always want to do that. So this becomes 5x minus, distribute this negative across, plus 3. And so we're going to have 2 times x minus 3, quantity squared, and no, that's not a 5x. So 5x minus x is going to end up being a 4x plus 3. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's say that we have, I don't know, we'll go back to some of those earlier ones. We was working a 3x cubed times a y cubed minus 15x to the 5th and y cubed plus 9x to the 4th, giving you a little time to write this down if that's what you're doing. And then we have y to the 5th. So we go down through here. 3 goes into 15, and 3 also goes into 9. So we're going to pull out a 3. We have an x cubed, we have an x to the 5th, we have an x to the 4th, so we'll be able to pull out an x. We always choose the one with the smallest exponent. We have a y, and a y. We're going to pull the one out with the smallest exponent, and that would be y to the 3rd. Okay, so we're going to pull a 3 out, an x cubed out, and a y to the 3rd. So that means we pretty much pulled everything out right there, so we're just left with a 1. Minus 3 goes into 15 5 times. Okay, we pulled 3 x's out. There's 5 here, so we're going to have how many left? 2. And we pulled out a y to the 3rd, so we don't have to rewrite that. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and we pulled out 3 x's. We're going to be left with just an x. We pulled out 3 y's, so we're going to be left with just 2 y's there. And that's as far as we're going to go on that. Okay, so you should be getting the hang of it by now. Alright, so let's work on another one here. What if we had 3x squared, x plus y squared plus 12x times x plus y. So try stopping the video and try working this one out on your own and see what you get. Okay, so we're going to, let's take a look at this. We've got a 3, and 3 goes into 12, so we're going to factor out a 3. We have an x squared, we have an x over here, so we're going to factor out an x, And remember, this is to the first power, so we're going to always pull the one out that's got the smallest power. We have an x plus y squared and an x plus y, so we're going to factor out both. We're going to do a lot of factoring out here. So we got 3. We're pulling an x out, and we're going to pull out an x plus y. So I'm going to start a parentheses. So we pulled out this 3. Pulled out one of the x's, we're just going to be left with one of them, and we have 2 here, so we're going to be left with 1, plus pulling a 3 out of 12, we'll be left with 4, and we pulled out an x, and we pulled out an x plus y. So there we go. Now we can kind of clean this up a little bit. Now I can distribute this x across inside, so x times x is x squared plus xy, and then plus 4. And that's as far as we're going to go on that. Okay, so you should be getting the hang of all this by now. What about 2ax plus 3bx plus 2ay, and how about plus 3by? Okay, I'm not just making this stuff up in my head, by the way. I've actually got this stuff written down and worked out. So anyway, 2ax, 3b. Okay, let's see, what can we factor out? What could we do here? An a and an x, a b and an x, an a and a y. Oof. Something's kind of fishy in this problem. I'm trying to figure out what it is. You know what? This is, I believe this is called factor by grouping here. Let me rewrite this. 2ay plus 3bx, I don't know, I might be wrong on that, 3by. If I were to factor out a 2a out of this one here, I'd be left with an x plus y. Okay? And if I were to factor out a b out of this one, I would be left with, you know what, let's throw a b. Oh. Yeah, I forgot to write a 3 right there. Okay, we can pull a 3 out and a b, and we're going to be left with x plus y. Yeah, this is called factor by grouping. So just another factoring technique. We had to group these two terms together, and then we grouped these two together. As you can see, we wrote them. Well, once we factored out the 2a, the 3b, now we've got an x plus y and an x plus y. So now we can factor out an x plus y out of both of them. So we're left with 2a plus 3b. We'll be working out some more of these. So anyway, factor by grouping is what this one's called here. Alright, let's look at this one. We've got y squared 5y minus 4 minus 36 and 5y minus 4. So we want to factor this completely down, and what we're going to do here is, because we have a 5y minus 4 in this term and a 5y minus 4 in this term, we're going to factor out a 5y minus 4. So we're going to be left with a y squared minus 36. Now, we can factor this again. Now this falls under factoring, this part right here falls under factoring binomials because there's two terms here. And I do have a section on just factoring binomials. But to factor this, we're going to write y minus 6, y plus 6. And of course, if you multiply these two together, you should get y squared minus 36. Now, this 36 right here, 6 squared is 36. Okay, and a little side work here. We have y squared minus 6 squared. This is the difference here of two squares, and you can break this up, and it's always going to be a minus and a plus. However, if this was a plus sign right here, we couldn't do that. So just a minus sign, alright? Let's be a minus and a plus. Okay, well that's as far as we can go with that one. Alright, let's look at this one here. We have 5x cubed minus 2x squared minus 45x minus 18. And what we're going to do here is we're going to group some of these, group these terms. So I'm going to group these two together first, and that's going to be 5x cubed minus 45x. And then I'm going to group these two together, so we have minus 2x squared minus 18. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at these two here. I can pull out a 5 because 5 goes into 45, and I'm going to also pull out an x, and there's one here, so we're going to pull this x out right here. So 5 and x. We're going to be left with x squared because we pulled one of them out, and this would be 9 right here. Okay, in this particular one here, I'm not sure why. Okay, this is supposed to have been a plus sign right here. Not sure why I wrote a minus, but anyway, as a plus sign, so we just changed those two. Okay, so in this particular one, I'm going to factor out a 2. We're going to be left with x squared minus 9. So as you can see in these two terms here, we have an x squared minus 9. And so that's what we're going to end up factoring out, is an x squared minus 9. And then we're going to be left with 5x plus 2. Now remember, you can always check this by multiplying this whole thing by each one of these, and we then back up with this again. Well, we're still not finished. We can factor this as the difference of two squares. This is 3 squared, which is 9. So we end up with x minus 3 times x plus 3 times 5x plus 2. So that has now been completely factored. We are good to go on that. So I was working this problem along here. Yeah, we pulled out, we factored the 5 out of this right here. Right, there's two 5s. Right, 5 goes into 10 2 times, so I'd left a 2 out there. But I went ahead and followed it on down. And this is as far as we can go on factoring this particular problem here. So let's look at another example of factoring polynomials. And remember what poly means. It means many, and many monomials. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got an 8 a squared, so this is a monomial, minus 36 a squared times b minus 48 ab plus 6a cubed. Okay, and we're going to do some grouping here. So just by coincidence, these things, you know, the term that we regroups always seems like the third one, but remember we could write this anywhere. Okay, so we have 8a squared minus 48ab minus 36a squared b plus 6a cubed. Alright, so let's look at these two monomials, two terms here in the polynomial. The largest number that goes into both 8 and into 48 is going to be 8. So 8. And of course we can factor out an a. We have two a's here and one a here. So I pull this 8 out and I pulled an a out, and so all we're left with is 1a minus 6b. Alright. Now in this particular one here, we are going to, it looks like, let's see, what can we pull out? Well, we know we got a's over here, a's over here. 6 goes into 36, so it looks like I'm going to factor out a 6. Now watch what happens. I've been factoring out a negative, pulling out a minus out of here, but I'm not going to do that this time. In fact, it's going to be a plus sign here. And we're going to be left with, whoops, I needed to throw an a in right there. Boy. So this is going to be a minus 6 a b plus a squared. Now no, we can pull out two a's. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to redo this here. So we're pulling out a 6 and two a's. So we're going to be left with a negative 6 b plus a. And of course that's what we have over here, except we need to rewrite this. Okay, so this is gonna, I'm just gonna go ahead. We got 8a, a minus 6b, whoops, 6b plus 6a squared, a minus 6b, so it looks like it. Okay, now we can go ahead and factor out. We can factor out this a minus 6b, and we're left with 8a plus 6a squared. So I was working this problem along here. Yeah, we pulled out, we factored the 5 out of this right here. Right, there's two 5s. Right, 5 goes into 10 two times, so I'd left a 2 out there. But I went ahead and followed it on down, and this is as far as we can go on factoring this particular problem here. So let's look at another example of factoring polynomials. And remember what poly means. It means many, and many monomials. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got an 8 a squared, so this is a monomial, minus 36 a squared times b minus 48 ab plus 6a cubed. Okay, and we're going to do some grouping here. So just by coincidence, these things, you know, the term that we regroups always seems like the third one, but remember we could write this anywhere. Okay, so we have 8a squared minus 48ab minus 36 a squared b plus 6a cubed. Alright, so let's look at these two monomials, two terms here in the polynomial. The largest number that goes into both 8 and into 48 is going to be 8. So 8. And of course we can factor out an a. We have two a's here and one a here. So I pull this 8 out and I pulled an a out, and so all we're left with is 1a minus 6b. Alright. Now in this particular one here, we are going to, it looks like, let's see, what can we pull out? Well, we know we got a's over here, a's over here. 6 goes into 36, so it looks like I'm going to factor out a 6. Now watch what happens. I've been factoring out a negative, pulling out a minus out of here, but I'm not going to do that this time. In fact, it's going to be a plus sign here. And we're going to be left with, whoops, I needed to throw an a in right there. Boy. So this is going to be a minus 6 a b plus a squared. Now no, we can pull out two a's. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to redo this here. So we're pulling out a 6 and two a's. So we're going to be left with a negative 6 b plus a. And of course that's what we have over here, except we need to rewrite this. Okay, so this is gonna, I'm just gonna go ahead. We got 8a, a minus 6b, whoops, 6b plus 6a squared, a minus 6b, so it looks like it. Okay, now we can go ahead and factor out. We can factor out this a minus 6b, and we're left with 8a plus 6a squared. Okay, so we can also factor this one here. So what we're going to do is the largest number that goes into both 8 and into 6 is looking like it's going to be a 2. And we can also pull an a out because we have an a in each one of these terms. And I'm going to rewrite. So 2 goes into 8 4 times. And of course a goes into a 1 time, but we don't write it. Plus 2 goes into 6 3 times. And we pulled out one of those a's. And of course we don't want to forget this part here. Okay. Now to kind of write this properly, we would take this 2a and bring it out front. And it doesn't matter which one of these we write. So I'll write that first one. And then 4 plus 3a. So that has now been completely factored. Now to check your work, you could go ahead and multiply this 2a, distribute it across to just this one, and then multiply. And we went over multiplication of polynomials in an earlier section. So if you wanted to check this, and then we should end up pretty much with what we started with. We might have to rearrange the terms to get it to look just like our original, but that would be this one here. Alright, well that concludes the factoring of polynomials, and if you've gotten this down, it's time to move on to factoring binomials. On my website, which is on the link is on my YouTube channel, I have lots of exercises on doing these. So, okay, have a good one.